All right, let's have a look. Libra, this is for you. This is Tarot Illumination with your love and relationship report for October 2017. Okay, so we're trying to do a new singles playlist for singles, but this is more for significant relationships where there's going to be you, Libra, a significant other, and then the energy of the relationship itself, where it's understood and accepted that the relationship has its own structure, its own identity, its own mission, its own meaning, its own purpose, and it's like a life of its own. And in a really healthy relationship, uh, both parties would conduct themselves through the relationship, making decisions together, communicating together, being very conscientiously aware of the other. Okay, and so on for what works for the relationship, because it's the relationship is like a structure, it's like a crucible, it's uh, like a bowl shaped structure which can endure, hopefully in a strong healthy relationship the crucible can endure the tremendous pressures that incur inside a relationship as we intimate and separate over the long term, especially like marriages and things like that, or long-term dating, or living together, or having homes and families and kids and mortgages and things like that. A little bit above and a little bit beyond just comfy dating. So let's have a look. Cards were already well shuffled in advance, going to the last moment so that you're a witness. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, and no reversals. So we're just going to see what the energy says. There's going to be like a little story that's going to come out. We'll make the best of it. Watch for your sun, moon, and rising. I know you've done this before, so do what you got to do, and we'll make the best of it. Squash it all. If you end up having to watch 3 videos, just squash them all together in your brain and create your own narrative. And let's see how that works. Okay, this is just for October. Let's have a look. So this would be your energy, all right, Libra? This would be a significant other, a chosen one, or a person of deep interest in your life already. Okay, where there's a lot of love energy already. Certainly a lot of connection, let's put it that way. And over here would be going deep into you, okay? And this would be going deep into the other. Over here is the core itself, the relationship itself, okay? You, other, the relationship. And there is the crucible itself. And a lot of people don't like it or understand it, but in a really healthy relationship, this would be very, very strong. Of course, a lot of people just relate like this without any awareness that there is a relationship itself. So next, we're going to look at the momentum here, and coming through, where is this all going here? And then we're going to look at the bottom card in just a second. That's what I think of as the weather. You're not going to be owned by the weather, hopefully. If the weather is yucky, doesn't mean you have to feel yucky. If the weather's awesomely beautiful, doesn't mean you have to conduct yourself as though you're deliriously happy all the time. You own it. You make the best of the weather. Okay, so what do we have for you? Okay, moving on here, thinking ahead, planning for the future here. What's actually going on? What are my options? It could be that you're feeling big shifts and changes happening for you, where you're having to, whether you like it or not, take a very bold new perspective of life and the world around you, because you're going to have to start plotting out a new journey. That's what it feels like here, but there's not a lot of momentum yet. It's the indication of, let's say, the winds of change are blowing. And so what are we going to do about that, Libra? Because there's a lot at stake when you've got the whole world in your hands like that. If you saw the imagery, I'll just show it to you again just for fun. Okay, you see that? See, there we are. There's you figuring it out. Oh my gosh, what's actually happening here? Things have been ticking along, but to be honest, it's really important to see the truth of what's out there, grab your life by the horns, and then make big, bold decisions about what to do and how to do it. But you're still at the very early stages of evaluation. Let's have a look at you. Okay, so the little Four of Cups here has been coming up a lot recently for a lot of reports. I don't know why. I just do tarot, and tarot illumination is not a fortune teller. It's just a tarot channel, okay? We just give perspectives and we tell stories. So for you, Libra, you might be very deeply aware that things are, let's say, um, how to put this in a way it's not too severe, it's not too, um, let's say, in let's to I don't want to be too soft about this or too harsh about this. It's a sensation, it's a knowing that um, you're not happy. Let's just say you're really not happy with the state of affairs right now, which is possibly, maybe it's because of your own sense of unhappiness. Maybe you're sensing a lot of woe is me, a lot of like, gosh, if only things had been this way, if only I had done this, if only they had done that, if only this and this and this and this had worked out and we had done this and that, and everybody had like been fully on board from the beginning, then you, Libra, wouldn't be feeling all this right now. Now, again, if you're feeling this way, this card always reminds me of the concept of energy flows where attention goes. So I have to state it, even if you've heard it a million times. So if you're wrapped up in a bit of the woe is me stuff, and you're kind of living life in the doldrums where you're getting by, you're doing okay, doing what you got to do, you know, honoring the relationship up to your abilities to honor it, given the fact that you might be a little bit sad about the whole thing, wondering like, where is it going? Where did it all come from? Where did it all go? That kind of energy, to the point where it's prompting you to look at your surroundings and circumstances as having to be perceived with a new perspective. Like, well, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? That's kind of awkward. But the thing is, that's the energy of you focusing on the problem. You might be feeling that things are not great, in which case, you know, that's like reflex behavior. So you're being owned by your feelings here. Whereas it might be an idea to see things from a higher perspective by changing the attitude, changing the perspective, changing the point of attention. Energy flows where attention goes. Like, let's just say you could just flip a switch like that and change your perspective and focus on the love. With this little miniature, mini Ace of Cups here, it's a reminder that you are love, you are surrounded by love. It's there all the time anyway. It just might require a new perspective, a new understanding of what love is. In a very, let's say, textbook manner, my feeling is that love is as love does. Love is love in action. It isn't just a concept. It's doing the loving thing. What's the loving thing to do right now? So, for example, love is the deliberate, willful decision to extend yourself above and beyond your natural comfort zone. And Libra loves their comfort zone. They don't like things to be out of balance or out of whack. But having to, in this case, to be loving and to be loved and to understand what's really going on here, going out of your own comfort zone in order to enhance the spiritual health and healing of yourself and another, as the most loving thing to do. But we don't know what that is yet, because with the idea of love is as love does, it would require a deliberate refocus of attention on what's actually going on here. What is the higher purpose of what's going on? What is the true love situation here? How would that play out for you going forward, looking down the road, down into the future? What does it really mean for you, as opposed to being all, let's say, wound up or immersed in what's not working over here? So you're kind of stuck in it. You're a little bit of it's like being in a bit of a jam, knowing you're kind of in a jam, being consumed by these like feelings that things aren't quite right. They're not the way they should be. They're not the way they could be. They're not the way you ever wanted them to be, to the point where it's prompting you to realize, I do have to make changes. Do have to look beyond. But you're doing it as a way to escape the problems rather than looking for the love, the solution itself. So let's have a look at the other, a significant other. Well, they might be in a position where they're just struggling to hold on. They're just trying to maintain stability in a very diplomatic way, okay? Because they might be very, let's say, involved with this relationship at the very foundations, okay, just as the way that you might be here. But from their perspective, they're living through an experience in a very different way. For them, it's all about just, let's not rock the boat, honey. Let's just keep everything status quo, keep things balanced, because nobody likes to have the boat rocking, because we could all fall out and everything could turn into a big mess. So you might be relating with a significant other where they may or may not be aware of your perspective of what's going on inside of you. Remember, Libra, this is your reading. It's not a couple's reading. It's not like you guys are there sitting on the desk having a chat with Tarot Illumination. It's more, this is your reading about you and a significant relationship. So the focus is on you, and we're just bringing the other party into the reading to get the full understanding, so how it plays out in the relationship. So you, just in the very simplest terms, it's almost like we're not in an optimal situation here, because if the significant other is holding on to try and maintain what stability there is, in other words, just trying to cling on to what works, the existing foundation, so to speak, everything that they know already, and at the same time you're kind of locked into how things are, but it's not exactly satisfying for you. It's not exactly satisfying for them, where the overall prevailing energy leaves both parties a little bit in the doldrums, and this sensation of what's happening next. Where are we going with this relationship? What are the dynamics? What's the future prospect of this relationship? So, but it's kind of happening in a very balanced, even way. It's just, let's say, awkward and uncomfortable right now in that regard. And all right, so let's just go a little bit deeper into you. All right, Libra, before I get like stuck in the mud here. I don't want to get stuck in the mud. We're focusing on you, okay? So go deep down. And what I'm feeling here is that with the Six of Wands here, you'd like things to work out. You would like to feel as though things are going to be fine. You'd like to feel as though you're on top of things and achieving, and it's all just awesome. And you might actually believe that as well. You might actually think it, because you might be very deeply loved. You might be very deeply appreciated, and you might know that. You might be in a relationship where you are valued in a very solid, reliable, foundational way, and you get that, and you know that deep inside you, and it's made obvious through evidence in another. But it's more like they're holding on to that, and your awesomeness and your capabilities of being a winner, being an achiever, more because they need that for the stability for themselves, in order for the relationship to endure. So they might be very happy for you in that you're feeling like you can keep things together. But question is that a noble reason for maintaining a relationship, or is it all about just trying to keep the status quo for the sake of the status quo? So especially if there's these deep down rumblings that things are changing and things are shifting, and there's new horizons unfolding, perhaps for the both of you, for as individuals, or for the relationship, or together, however you look at it. Now, if the Six of Wands here is more about your desire to succeed and win and prevail in the situation, where you overcome the doldrums and the feeling of woe is me, that's very noble. That's great too. But we don't know if that's going to happen, because this is inside of you. This is deep inside of you. And it's almost like, to me, it feels more like you already know you're a winner, and you're not going to be disturbed or prevailed, or let's say your life tipped over by potential new horizons unfolding, whatever they might be, for yourself, for the other or for the relationship. It's almost like it doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter. It's almost Libra, you're saying like, you know, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to be who I am, my normal, awesome self. And you're going to just be your awesome self. And that's just how it is, because that's what works best, you know, and you already know that inherently, Libra. So that's good. That's very kind of noble. Not everybody does that. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody has that degree of self-assurance, self-confidence, competence, and capability to do that. And this might be deep in your core anyway, which could be very valuable for the long term, considering you know, the way things may be going, because you're going to need all the courage you can going forward, especially if current circumstances are indicating that there's a lot to be desired in the relationship, rather than just trying to hold on for the sake of the status quo, which is, you know, very noble again, but it's very old-fashioned, because you know, they might be very deeply invested in the relationship and they love the relationship for what it is, but maybe that's just not enough for you. Okay, you know, otherwise this card wouldn't be here. All right, let's have a look inside the other, see what's going on a little bit deeper. Okay, so in some ways they are glowing. It's almost like they're glowing radiant, and that might be just their own inner sense of contentment, and they're actually very happy for you. It might be in their own way they are very pleased with what's happening, and that maybe you're really extending yourself in very noble, magnificent ways in order to plot out a new direction for the relationship, either for yourself or for the other, or for the relationship itself. Because with the sun energy here, it's almost like deep inside the other, they feel indestructible. There's some kind of massive, massive, like nuclear furnace of light and power and love that is just inherent to them by nature. And they're feeling it. They're starting to radiate that. They're starting to glow that in their own right, in their own being, in such a way that it doesn't even matter what's going on with you, Libra. It doesn't matter what's going on with the relationship. There's just something glowing about them, like a new light and a new being that you may have never noticed before. It might be a big turn on for you to see them like this, but it also could be a little bit intimidating, because it means like, wow, they've got their own love and light and power and their own like internal energy source of happiness, to the point where even though I'm so awesome, they don't even need me. Whoa, that's a bit weird. That puts you, Libra, in a position of like, well, what am I supposed to do now? You know, you're used to things being such and such a way, and the other one is just, you know, holding on to things for the sake of stability because of what's already existed, what's already working. But deep down, what seems to be happening is that they are coming into their own light, their own brilliance, their own awesomeness, possibly in ways that you've never seen before. And so, because these are both really brilliant energies in their own way, it could put the relationship at odds with itself, where even though you might be deeply invested, you might have, from the other party's perspective, they might have a lot of, let's say, concern for the stability. They might be as concerned for the stability as you are. And that's very, again, very noble and everything. But if deep down they're radiating so much love and light and power in their own right, where you feel like, oh, like I just mentioned earlier, like, whoa, whoa, where does that leave you? Because I don't know how to put this without hurting your feelings, Libra, but they might have outgrown you in some way, which is kind of strange, because you still have so much to offer, and yet in some way or other, they are either outgrowing you or outshining you or outlight, to the point where they are owning their own happiness, so to speak, where their own internal happiness is not dependent on a relationship or dependent on you or dependent on the status quo. Even though they might be, you know, in day-to-day life holding the status quo together, deep down, they are starting to glow and glow and glow and glow. They might not be expressing that very outwardly, but that's what's happening deep down inside. And in some ways, you love that, but in some ways, it's also a threat, because it means there might have been an old, well-established power balance that is now out of whack, and it may be triggering you and the relationship to be thinking, well, where is this taking us? Where is this going to lead? Maybe I have to like see things in a whole new way and start plotting out new paths for myself or the relationship or us or however that works. So let's have a look at the core energy of the relationship itself. All right, let's go here. Okay, well, so for you, Libra, it might be putting you in a spot where, despite all this, let's say, natural brilliance that you have in yourself, your natural ability to conduct yourself with dignity and nobility, not just for yourself, but in a way that has very long-term appreciation, where this isn't just an overnight thing, where you have, it's like you have a lot of medals, so to speak, where you're deeply loved and appreciated by friends, family, partner, your whole surroundings, your whole world, where everybody really, really digs you and loves you as somebody who's really just awesome, okay? And yet, here we are in the context of this relationship where, because of this, even as much as it's a beautiful card in a beautiful position, in some ways it's actually quite destabilizing, because if their own light is growing and growing and growing and growing, that could really be confusing for you if you've been used to a certain status quo where you were always this rock, this amazing person who just made stuff happen, and it worked really well for the significant other and everything around you, your whole life and world around you. But with this shift of energy, not with a shift of energy, but what's actually happening over here with a significant other, it really kind of throws things out of whack for you, where you're not going to let it really, really disturb you, but it is triggering the whole feeling of like, whoa, where is this taking us? All right, to the point where it's completely, it's almost like getting not sideswiped, but it's taking you into a place where you would rather not go. Let's put it that way. In other words, you might be feeling, because this energy is so powerful, it's so bright and so strong, you might not be able to, like, let's say wrangle it or handle it in the ways you've ever been used to doing before. And so you're being almost put in a situation where you have to, as a winner, as an achiever, as someone who just nobly goes on with their life, that's just your natural way of being, you're forced to have to look at new horizons. And that is very disconcerting, because you would rather not do that. That's how it looks here. It feels to me, as your reader, that for you, as you're a private reader, pretend this is a private reading for you, that you're put in a position where you're going to have to kind of go into the unknown a little bit. And it might be something to do with the big eclipses that just happened recently, where it feels like there's an awful lot of things that are shifting and changing over which you have no control, that have to be left behind. And if you don't deliberately and gracefully let them behind, then it's just going to create a lot of misery, because the whole point is that we're here to evolve and grow. And it's just that it's something that you might not like or want to do, and they might not like that either. Even though they're glowing like a furnace on the inside, the change that's happening and the growth and the evolution that's happening is triggering them to want to hold on to the old status quo that was already awesome. And you might as well already want that as well, but it's putting the relationship itself in a very, let's say, unstable condition where neither party really knows what's going on. And the standard reflex behavior, let's say this is just day-to-day life, where the other party is just, going through the motions, so to speak, and being very diplomatic in a way that's complementary to you in this card here, just to keep things going the way they were. But there's something wrong, because you can feel it. Because of this, it's not that this is wrong, it's just that this is so powerful and bright, it actually threatens the old order. if that makes any sense, to the point where it's destabilizing, where you're figuring out, well, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go here and now? I'm being, let's say, forced by fate. I don't like to use that word, but because it's a major arcana, it can feel very fated here, where it's almost like you don't have any say in the matter. This energy is so big over here with the significant other that you don't have any choice at all except to go blind and trust your intuition and hope that things work out and things will eventually become apparent about what to do, where to go, and how to do that. Because it's not evident here in this reading. The other thing that is evident here is that uh, things have to change and you're going to have to take a new perspective, and that you're already taking a new perspective. It's just that it might freak you out a little bit because you're having to go into shadowland, trusting your gut, your heart, your intuition, as opposed to your spirit, your fire, and your strength and power. And that just might be a very different way to live and behave than you're used to. So that's why it could feel weird. In other words, having to trust like in the intuition and go deep inside, like a deep soul searching here, it just might not be to your choosing. So that puts the relationship um, in a very, very ambiguous place where neither party really knows what's going on. You're just trying to figure out and deal with it. This is your reading, so it's you figuring out what to deal with, how to deal with it, and looking forward, what are we going to do here? Even though you might not be conversing about any of this, you'll be feeling it on a very, very, very deep level, on a very subterranean level, to do with your heart, your spirit, your soul. Let's see, what's the momentum? Okay, so it puts you in a very awkward spot. That's how I'm feeling it here, Libra. Like, despite your best of intentions here, despite the best of their intentions over here, the relationship dynamic itself, it looks like it is under a lot of pressure from, let's say, fate or circumstances or reality that's kind of above and beyond your particular understanding of what's happening. This might be very mysterious for you. And like, I don't know, I'm a Libra, I don't know what's actually happening here. I've always done it this way. I know it works. It's just that there's something wrong. You can tell they're doing everything they can, like as far as you can tell, to keep things going and working, but there's something out of whack. And it's not really awful. It's just that it might be just that it's something that's so good for the other, something that's so good for the other that is happening that it destabilizes the relationship for you, which means for everybody, both of you. And that's a problem because where it takes you is like, uh-oh. It's like when you, I don't want to get too dramatic here, but you know, if you had a big car crash or something, or a big traumatic event, you get that weird disembodied feeling like, whoa. And you feel like you're going to black out or faint, but you don't quite do that, but you get disembodied enough where you actually feel as though there's you, your spirit, watching you, your life, living your life, like you're watching a movie of your life. And maybe that's what you need, you see, because I mean, these things don't happen out of the blue. This is an evolutionary thing here. This is like we're doing an energy read here. I'm not telling you your future or how to make your decisions or what decisions to make. All I'm suggesting is the dynamics and the energy fields that are occurring in your significant relationship here, in the crucible of the relationship. There's a tremendous amount of power and surging and changing that's going on here, to the point where you might feel as though the relationship has taken you above and beyond anything that you've had to deal with before, to the point where you don't actually know how to deal with it. It's so disorienting because this is almost like the splitting apart. This is almost like the status quo splitting apart, where there's the relationship as you've always known it, and then there's the relationship being perceived from the great beyond, like, oh my gosh, what's actually happening here? What is actually happening here? But we're not going to read into the future here. It's almost like we should pull more cards for you, Libra, because you're being left in a condition of suspended animation here, like a big out-of-body experience about what to do and where to go and how to do all that. And it's nobody's fault. It's just evolution. All right. So there's obviously no point in being harsh or judgmental upon the other. It's just a question of accepting the reality of your world, your relationship, your situation, which you're obviously doing because you're a natural winner at heart, but it's putting you in a very awkward spot where you don't have any choice except to look beyond what's happening, where are we going to go with this, where does it all lead, because we don't know. So that's a little awkward. I feel very awkward leaving you like this with this reading, but that's what I feel, and I don't want to disturb you by pretending I can tell you that I know the outcome. Okay, because it's very, very much up in the air right now. It's very, very much in balance, and perhaps very disorienting for you, even though you both might be conducting yourselves in a way that makes it look as though everything is absolutely just fine. All right, so make the best of it, Libra. It's kind of your month anyway, so figure it out. There's a big full moon fairly early on. Maybe that'll bring things to a lightness and awareness. Be true to yourself. Allow the other to be true to themselves. Continue to be honorable. Respect their light and power. Respect yourself, and just allow things to unfold, however weird and disorienting it might be. Okay, all the best, Libra. Bye bye.